Hey everybody, how are you doing? Well, they won. They won. They had a great week. Inter Miami had a great week, and we're going to talk a lot about that tonight. You know, highs and lows with this team every single week. Highs and lows with this team. But anyways, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Peter Brown, and I am your host for this fun live show. Uncle Ed is trying to track down our guest. We are trying to get Franco Panizo from Miami Total Football on the line. We are having a few technical difficulties with him, and but we're trying to get him on. I'm not sure if we have him on or not, but it looks like he's in the green room, and it looks like he might be shaking his head and doing a thumbs up. So it looks like he can hear us. So that's good. But before we get to Franco, let's first, of course, welcome everybody's favorite uncle, Darrell's favorite uncle, according to Uncle Ned, but my favorite uncle, Uncle Ed. How you doing, Ed?
How's it going, guys? Pumped up here because that was one incredible game. Of course, it was against the worst team in the league.
Worst team in the league.
Yeah.
You know, we get super excited and hey, we're gonna win it all. We're gonna win. Well, remember, it's a bad team we're playing.
But there's a chance, Peter.
And
we're going to talk to our guest
there's a chance
about that chance. Because he knows the numbers better than we do, and he knows a lot more than we do. So
yeah, Franco's going to join us in just a minute. And he's more in the know than we are. He's at all the press conferences. He's at the practices, I believe. He's interviewing the coach and getting into arguments with Twitter arguments with the coach and all that. So,
yeah.
He's in the know more than we are. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with him tonight as well. But before we get into all that, we do have to say a big thank you to our sponsor, and that is Caneswear. So if you're still looking for your Inter Miami gear, this is the place to go. The prices are slashed, folks. I mean, they are so cheap there at Caneswear. And, I mentioned this before, but if you want to get the new kit sponsor on anything, basically, they'll do it for $10. You have a shirt that you previously purchased, like maybe the one Ed is currently wearing. That one. Maybe you want to get the logo on there. You can do that at Caneswear, and they'll charge you.
And I'm gonna do it at Caneswear.
They'll charge you $10 to do that. Plus, like I said, they've got all the other stuff: the hats, the shirts, the stickers, the license plates, whatever you want. They got it all. So go to Caneswear and do that. Before we get to Franco, Ed, let's do a quick hello to some of the people that are in the chat.
Let's do it. I got in earlier, Peter, and there were a lot of people, but for some reason, when we get on the show, it kind of kicks a few people off. So sorry I know there was somebody before. Esteban Dido, how you doing? There was somebody on before him. I should have, saved it, but good to see him on as well. Baldwin 4 is also joining us. How you doing, Baldwin 4?
And a lot of comments about cool your jets a little bit here.
Oh, boy. All right. We've got Doovster. And somebody we saw yesterday, B. King. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, we saw him last night.
We saw B. King last night. Jose Velasquez. How you doing? Of course, Judge Dredd the Law is with us right now. We've got One World, One Goal. She's always talking to us and leaving messages. The best photographer out there, Chris Arjun.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing? Our good friend from Atlanta, a new Wiseman.
Oh, he says your streak ends on Wednesday.
Because we're playing Atlanta. So, yeah. And we've got Eric Thomas in the house. Eric Thomas. And we've got Jonathan Carranza, the cousin of our own Carranza that plays. No, just kidding. I don't know if they're related.
That's what we say. That's what we say.
Yeah, it's cool. Eduardo Celis, how you doing, my friend? He sent us a message yesterday, I think it was, a couple days ago. Giovanni Rodriguez, how you doing? One of Peter's favorites, Jet Pancake. Jet Pancake in the house. And, of course, we can't forget Franco Panizo's brother. We've got Bruni2589. How you doing?
Is he just forever
Little
known
Bruno.
as Franco's brother? I mean, does he get his own, you know?
No, it's Bruno. I've seen him before, known him. I know him. He knows I say hello. I don't call him his brother.
I don't know the way you announced it there. You're like, you know,
Well,
Franco's
I'm just saying,
brother.
by the way, Bruno
Franco's
is
brother.
his
It's
brother,
like he doesn't
so.
have his own identity. He's just, you know,
No,
hey, there's
he
Franco's
does. He
brother.
does. He's
All
right.
mean, that wasn't cool.
Oh, all right. Anyway, we got Kauser D. Aguv. I hope I got that right. Kauser D. Aguv. And that's it
like
for now,
Ricardo.
guys. Be sure to say hello, and we'll mention you guys, especially in the beginning of the show, and whatever you guys want to talk about. This is your show. Leave us something in the chat, and we will talk about it. There's tons to talk about.
All
today,
right, so
Peter.
let's get to that. Let's not wait much longer, and let's welcome in our friend, our pal, Bruno's brother, Franco. As soon as I fix his camera, because he logged out and logged back in, so I got to get him back up. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Where are you at? Where in the world are you at?
We can't hear him now.
Can't hear you. See, earlier we were able to listen to him fine.
Yeah, we were able to hear him earlier, and I thought we got him, but we can't hear you, Franco.
Now we can't hear you. Keep working on it. And he's
no
can't
audio.
hear you.
And it's not on our end only because Ed comes in the same way that you came in. So we know that the technology side of things is working, because that's always something I think about. But he's going to try again, it looks like.
Let's try it, yeah. Earlier, we were able to listen to him, but he couldn't hear us.
Right. Now it's the opposite. Now it's the opposite. So
hopefully this will work out. We'll try him in a few more minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
But let's start talking about the game, Peter. That was an incredible game. Inter Miami. Of course, it was against the last place team. So, but it everything just went our way. I think it was incredible that Pizarro was starting at the same time that both Iguain brothers were starting. So I think that was something I always thought about. That it would be very, very cool to watch all these guys playing together at the same time. It hadn't happened, in the regular season for them starting at the same time, but this time it happened.
Right.
Let's see. We're trying
Franco again. Franco.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, yeah. I had to let the application have permission to my microphone, apparently, because I didn't do that the first time.
How you doing? Here's the first question. How's Bruno doing?
He's good. I don't know if he has his own identity, though. I'm glad you guys understand that he's in my shadow for his entire life.
Oh, there you go.
It's the younger brother. It's part of it. It's part of it.
The younger brother. Okay. All right. Didn't know the dynamics there.
Yeah, I'm the older brother.
Where are you talking to us from? Where are you at?
I'm in lovely downtown Fort Lauderdale right now.
Okay. All right.
Not too far where, this is not a secret, not too far where some Inter Miami and Fort Lauderdale CF players play.
Right. So Ed was starting off just talking a little bit about the games. We know you're there week in, week out with Miami Total Football, and I mean, look, I appreciate the fact that you put up the press conferences up on YouTube every week, because that's how I watch them, and I watch them through you. But you were there with, I mean, me and Ed were cheering and happy, get all excited. Everybody, the highs and lows with this club. But what were your thoughts on last night's crazy victory? I mean, they won by a lot, but it is the worst team in the league. Again, always.
You guys can hear me okay, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. As for last night, look, it was a great game from Inter Miami, more so in the second half than in the first half. It's a tale of two halves for Inter Miami, but it was great given the amount of difficulties that Inter Miami has had, that you guys have had to witness over the course of 2 seasons, and how many poor games there's been, how many boring games there's been. Let's be honest, there's been a lot of very boring games from an Inter Miami perspective. And to see them explode in the attack for 5 goals, the biggest win in franchise history, it was great. It was great to see. It obviously brings a different mood to the team, just to the environment around the players and the club itself. It's not just about the players and and Phil Neville and the team that plays in those 90 minutes. It's also about just everybody around the club. Even on the media side, the questions are much more positive. So awesome to see Inter Miami be able to win a game by such a lopsided margin. They outdid themselves because on Wednesday against Toronto FC, they set the franchise record for biggest win in team history. And then 3 days later, they outdo themselves with a 5-1 victory over FC Cincinnati. And it's impressive to me that you guys actually have the perspective, though, to still be like, well, this is one of the worst teams in the league, or if not the worst team in the league, because listen, other fan bases or other people in the fan base might just get the 5-1. They might take it to the head and be like, look, that's great. We're on the come up or whatever. But you have to take these things into perspective, at least, from the media side. Maybe not so much from a fan side. You guys can live it a little bit more from an emotional standpoint. But from the media side, you do have to take it into perspective. These two games, these two wins, were against two teams that are already eliminated, that are at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. It's not being negative. It's not being pessimistic. That's just reality. These two teams have been poor for a long time, and they're already out of it. So, look, kudos to Inter Miami for winning. They took care of business. You can only play the opponent that's in front of you,
exactly.
And they took care of business there. But there will be bigger challenges to come over these last 3 games of the season.
Tell us a little bit about Federico started. So did Pizarro. I think that was something I was just talking about right now. The first time that's happened, and I think it was. I liked it. I thought it was something good. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I thought Pizarro had maybe his best game of the season, and I always go back and rewatch the games a second time because it just helps you see things that maybe you don't see the first time. When you see the games for the first time, and maybe this is a media thing, maybe not. I think even for fans, if you watch the game a second time, you see things a bit differently. The first time, everything's new to your eyes. There's so much happening. There's emotion in the game. There's good calls, bad calls. There's just a lot that happens over the course of the 90 minutes. Whereas you can watch it the second time, you know the results, so you know what's going to happen. So you can see things with a little cooler head. I believe this is why coaches rewatch games more than once, right? That after they see the game live and in person, they go and study the game film because you can see things from a different perspective. And look, Rodolfo Pizarro, for me, was one of the top 2 players, probably number 2. I'd probably say he was the second best player for Inter Miami. I think Gonzalo Iguain, with the second half he had, was the best player for Inter Miami yesterday. I know you asked me about Federico, and I didn't think he had a bad game, but if you ask me about the 2 Iguain brothers, Gonzalo had a better game. Not only did he score the game winner with a great header, he also dishes out assists left and right. Like, it was going out of business. Like, he was like, a great through ball here, another great through ball there. He sets up Julian Carranza and Lewis Morgan. He also set up the other Lewis Morgan goal that was called back. He gets the secondary assist by MLS statistics and MLS standards on the opening goal because he hit that ball that Rodolfo Pizarro got onto. So for me, Gonzalo Iguain was the best player of the game. Night and day difference, though. The first half looked a little bit anxious, a little bit too eager, trying to force things, and they weren't coming off for him, including that free kick. I don't know if you guys remember, but that free kick that Federico plays to him short at the top of the 18, and he tries to shoot it, and he scuffs it, and it doesn't even – there's no power generated. It just kind of mishits it, and it goes up, and the defense clears it. But in the second half, everything practically clicked for him, and it was a very dominant performance from him in the second half, a masterclass of a performance. You can even see it. When Julian Carranza scores his first goal of the season, the 5th goal of the game, the first thing he does is turn around, and he just points at Gonzalo Iguain to try to give him the credit because Gonzalo Iguain was incredible in the second half. But to answer your question a little bit more directly, Federico and Rodolfo worked, Gonzalo worked. It's a byproduct of the 4-2-3-1 formation, but also a byproduct, like you guys have mentioned, of the level of the opponent, which is already eliminated. So you have to take that into context as well.
Yeah, it's funny is Ed was asking about Federico and Gonzalo. It's like, it took, it seems like Gonzalo plays happier when his brother's out on the pitch, and there was I saw some people posing this question online, and I would agree with it. It seemed to have taken Neville, all season to figure this out, that they play better together. Why did it take so darn long?
So I think, look, early on, I think it was clear that Gonzalo and Federico played better together. They understand one another, which is normal because they're brothers and they've grown up playing together. You know, me and Bruno are nowhere near the players that Federico and Gonzalo are, but
I was going to mention that.
I'm sure we understand each other. I'm sure we
Who's
understand
better, you or
other.
Bruno?
Oh, I was definitely better. 100%. 100%.
Fighting words.
Hey, I'm sure in the comment section he'll admit as much, but maybe not. But look, you understand your brother, right? You have a different kinship with your brother, right? On and off the field, and I think that translates on the field for Inter Miami and for the Iguain brothers. If we're being frank and we're being honest, and you know that's how I am, that's who I am as a person, not just as a media member. I know that's how I might come off as a media member, but that's just who I am as a person. If we're being honest and frank, Gonzalo Iguain and Rodolfo Pizarro, the number 9 and the number 10 on this roster, have not been on the same page. I think that they have, statistically speaking, contributed directly, and I say directly because MLS counts secondary assists, which, you know, I have my gripes with. But anyway, directly speaking, they have contributed to, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2 goals this season. 2. One that Rodolfo set up Gonzalo, and one that Gonzalo set up Rodolfo. And that's it. 2 goals in 31 games from your number 9 and your number 10, which are both DPs. It's not a great return. And I think in different moments we've asked Rodolfo about different things, tactically, positionally. He has said that he's had to move because Gonzalo likes to drop back. I just don't think they could. I don't think they gel. I don't think there's chemistry there. That does not mean, and I'm not saying this because I know people watch your channel like they watch my channel, and so I know people in the team watch these things. So that's not to say that they have issues off the field, that they have beef, that there's anything of the sort. But on the field, they just don't click. They just don't. It doesn't work on a consistent basis. I think the proof is in the pudding with those numbers I just gave you. So with Federico, you see more of an understanding. Gonzalo doesn't drop back as much. He lets Federico do his thing, which, look, to Federico and Rodolfo's credit and Phil Neville's credit, because this is a reality of the roster and of the players. When Federico's in there, I'm sure they say this in Ecuador, Federico genera más fútbol, right? He generates better soccer, better football. I mean, that would roughly translate to generates better sequences, attacking sequences, because of how he moves, because of how quickly he passes the ball. So Rodolfo likes to have the ball to his feet, and he takes a little bit longer to release it. So, look, Federico is probably a better number 10, but Federico at this point in his career is 36. He's about to turn 37 tomorrow on Monday. So happy birthday to Federico Iguain. But obviously, from a physical standpoint, he can't do it on a consistent basis, be in a lineup over the course of a 34-game regular season. He's had injuries, different points. There's been other weaknesses within the team that have forced Phil Neville to change things. And obviously, we've seen that 5-man backline for a good part of the second half of this season. So there's different reasons why Federico Iguain hasn't been in the starting lineup. But I'm of the belief that to get the most out of this team, especially from an attacking standpoint, you have to have Federico Iguain as much as possible. Obviously, that doesn't mean every single game, because, again, he's limited physically at this advanced point in his career. But the more you can get him in the lineup, the better. And, you know, that's going to be a challenge for Inter Miami during these last few games, because he started these last 2 games. Can he deal with another short turnaround, the travel? Can he start again on Wednesday and give you the same type of output physically? That's the challenge that Phil Neville has to manage. And then you have another game on Saturday, the last game at home at DriveThink Stadium for the season. So these are things that you have to be taken into consideration. It hasn't been easy for Phil Neville, but I do think when Federico Iguain is in there, they are a better team.
Let's talk about, the title of this show was We Still Have a Chance, like in Dumb and Dumber. There's still a chance. How realistic is that chance, Franco?
Look, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. I don't want to be.
That's my job.
I don't want to be pessimistic Panizo, which you guys can adopt as the nickname if you want. But look, I see things from. I try to see things from what I think is realistic and what I think is honest. It's a very tough challenge. It's a very tough challenge to see Inter Miami making the playoffs. Yes, they're 5 points shy of the playoff spot, but that still takes 2 victories just to get to the 5 points, right? Out of the last 3 games, they still need 2 victories just to pass those 5 points, right? That would put them in a playoff spot. But that's assuming that nobody else picks up points from here to the end of the season. There's a lot of teams ahead of Inter Miami right now, and some teams will drop points. but some teams will pick up points, and that's what's going to make it difficult for Inter Miami. I think they're going to be in it probably until this weekend, maybe even next Wednesday. But by then, I think the other teams will have picked up enough points, which will, going into the final game of the season, really, really doom Inter Miami's chances or end Inter Miami's chances. I just don't think, based off the matchups, based off the amount of teams that are ahead of Inter Miami, that it's realistic to say they're going to make the playoffs. Phil Neville has said it. It's a mountain to climb because he's done the permutations, in his words. He's done the math. And I don't know if they say this in Ecuador, but in Peru they say saca las calculadoras, which, for a math test, whip out the calculators, take out your calculators. It's for that part of the exam. You can do the math and see the different results and try to figure it all out.
But there's a chance, Franco. There's a chance.
Oh no, yeah, hey, absolutely. They're not mathematically eliminated. They're not mathematically eliminated. There's a chance. I have said this on Miami Total Futbol Radio, the podcast. It would take not one, it would take two miracles for Inter Miami to make the playoffs. But hey, it's sports. Unpredictable things happen. So until they're out of it, then you can keep that bit of faith and that bit of hope. Wednesday's game against Atlanta United in Atlanta is massive, massive, massive. Last time around, I said it was the biggest game of the season. Now it's the biggest game of the season, absolutely, because if they don't win this one, then it's pretty much done and dusted.
Yeah, and a new Weissman, Atlanta fan that's in this chat here, he's basically saying they got the win. No worries. No worries. Atlanta's not feeling – I don't think anybody feels intimidated by Inter Miami. We come into their stadium. Nobody's intimidated.
Cincinnati does.
Hey, after eight goals?
Cincinnati might. But they probably feel intimidated by every team in the league.
Yeah.
So, come on.
Well, the question is, and I'll throw this out to you guys. I know you guys are the hosts of the show, but
we like just having dialogue. That's fun.
So, Inter Miami last time around in Atlanta, which was just a few weeks ago, I was in Atlanta for the game. It coincided with my old roommate's birthday from New York. He lives in Atlanta now. So I went to go celebrate his birthday and watch the Inter Miami Atlanta game in person. And Inter Miami in that game lost 1-0. But they were competitive, and they only lost because of a penalty kick that came off of a controversial handball. Given that Inter Miami is a team that has struggled for consistency this year, and yes, they played very well in this 4-2-3-1 as of the last two games against inferior opposition, does Phil Neville stick with that four-man backline on Wednesday? Or does he switch to a five-man backline? Leandro Gonzalez-Pires will be back. Christian McCoon will be there. But does he stick with a four-man defense? Or does he try to keep things tight at the back and pick and choose the moments when to attack like he did last time? That's the question that I throw out for you guys. I throw out for the viewers, because I don't think it's as clear-cut as just 4-2-3-1 again and we're going to score this many goals. I think this defensive solidity will be important against a team like Atlanta that has so many dynamic attacking weapons.
Yeah, I have a feeling they go back to that 3/5 man back. I have a feeling you go back to that, and unfortunately for Morgan, I know he's not thrilled being in that kind of a position, but he thrives a little bit more when he's a little more attacking. But I think he's going to be called upon to do some defensive work, and I think we're going to see, because they did have success with that kind of a formation. So I would think they're going back to that. But I don't know. What do you think, Ed?
Look, I'm just checking out the chat right now. Richard Greenberg, he's a Toronto fan. He's saying TFC is scared of us. They aren't.
Yeah, they're two teams.
Yeah, look, and there's somebody, I forgot. I just saw a message. They're asking Franco if he knows about certain rumors. I don't know if you saw it.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, let's move on and talk about the future, because that's actually more fun, at least for me. I mean, sometimes for me, the off season is more fun than the actual season. All the moves and the trades and all that kind of stuff. So Doofster is asking him, Franco, are the rumors true? Iguain retiring? Matuidi gone? Pizarro to Chivas? What do you think? Let's start off with Iguain. What do you think? Does he stay or does he go?
So I've only seen the reports, and that came from Steve Brenner, who is an independent writer. He writes for a lot of English outlets. He's also on Miami Total Futbol Radio's normal co-hosting panel. But I don't know anything specifically with regards to it more than what I've seen. I would say, look, based on what we saw yesterday, Gonzalo Iguain can still play. Right? He still has some some gas left in the tank, and he has another year left on his deal, from what we know.
And to add to that, I noticed something on the Wednesday game, and maybe this has been there for longer than the Wednesday game, but I noticed it on Wednesday. He's got new pink boots, and to me, that shows commitment to the club. He's not going anywhere because of the boots.
Well, I would take it more from a human perspective and say,
oh no, I take it from the ridiculous.
If he has $5 million plus guaranteed
all right, take
next
it serious.
season, does he walk away from that? I mean, maybe he's accomplished a lot in his career. He's won a lot of money, so maybe he just be like, look, I've had enough. I'm satisfied. This is it for me. But I don't know. I think he's not winning $5 million at any other point in his life, probably from here on out. So I have a hard time seeing him retiring. But look, yesterday, and these are things that I read into as a media member. Yesterday, he had a great second half. I thought he was man of the match because of the second half he had. But he wasn't the player chosen for the press conference. It was Federico Iguain that was chosen for the press conference. Now, is it because the team doesn't want Gonzalo to have to address these retiring rumors? Is it because Gonzalo doesn't want to speak? You could read into it how you want. I think, obviously, there's something behind the fact that Gonzalo Iguain did not speak after a game in which he has such a strong performance. So, I mean, a lot of the questions to Phil were about Gonzalo. So I absolutely think naturally he'd be the one to speak under normal circumstances, but there's extenuating circumstances here with regard to the rumors that have come out, whether they're true or not. We'll see. We'll see what he does this offseason. But look, I think for Inter Miami, I have no hesitation to say that I think that they want all three of the DPs out, and that they want to bring three new DPs in. Because even though Gonzalo's performed probably the best of the three DPs, it's still been very inconsistent. His attitude and his demeanor, while I'm okay with a lot of the frustration he displays, sometimes I think it's a bit overboard, and that definitely can impact the locker room. These are still people. These are still
flapping like a bird. He thinks he's a bird. Fly away.
That's not new. He's been like that his entire career. So it's not like this is just something. It's not something he's just like, oh, well, Inter Miami is going to be this way. But it still impacts the locker room. It still impacts, how players feel, how people feel. These are still human beings, right? We see them as players. That's how we largely view them, because we see them pretty much on a game-by-game basis. Media side, you can see them in practice, but you don't see the human element as much as, the coaches do and as the staff does. And obviously when you have someone that's constantly frustrated, constantly complaining, whether it's with good or bad intentions, it can still impact things. Like, for me, just me, Franco Panizo, put my name to it so nobody says, it was you guys, and say Franco Panizo here. I can't imagine Robbie Robinson feels great about seeing, Gonzalo Iguain flap his arms every time he has a miss and every time he makes mistakes. And look, Robbie Robinson has made a lot of mistakes, and there's been time where I fully understand Gonzalo Higuain's frustration, but it also doesn't help when he makes those demonstrative expressions, and that just sinks Robbie Robinson's confidence even lower. So
yeah, exactly.
I can imagine that Inter Miami, and they probably won't say this publicly, at least not now, they want to move the 3DPs. We actually interviewed Chris Henderson not too long ago. Sorry for going on a tangent here, but I'll just add this last part. We interviewed Chris Henderson not too long ago for the first time since the beginning of the season. And one of the things he said in his 5 minutes of talking to us on the media side was that, sometimes to change a team, it only takes 3 or 4 players. These are his words. And that can change the culture of the team. Now, you don't change players at the bottom of the roster to change the culture of the team. You change players at the top of the roster. This is just me now speaking. You change players at the top of the roster to change the culture of the team. And I think that's where Gonzalo Higuain, Blaise Matuidi, and Rodolfo Pizarro are likely candidates to be moved on, or at least to be attempted to be moved on in this offseason.
What about Matuidi? What's his contract? That's something we talked about with Peter. We wanted to find out what his contract, how many years does he have? Because I think he's a candidate to move for sure.
If anybody needs to retire, it's him.
So he has another year on his deal, I believe. He's also through 2022. Yeah. Now, does he want to walk away from the money? Is he going to retire? Again, these are conversations that need to be had. So Inter Miami was by MLS rules, and I know that MLS rules are very difficult to follow and understand. I myself, 10 plus years covering the league, don't understand them fully.
Right.
So, but I can tell you this: every MLS season, you can buy out one contract.
Right.
One contract, and we saw that this season with Matias Pellegrini. They bought him out, quote unquote, because he was still on the books, but they bought him out from the MLS roster. This is why he was training with Fort Lauderdale CF, but didn't play for Inter Miami up until he was loaned out to Estudiantes de La Plata. So, in theory, they could buy out Blaise Matuidi. In theory, and then that's it. You moved them on. I know there's rumors about some Brazilian players. One of them is a number 8, a box-to-box type of midfielder. So it makes sense. It would make sense if they use that buyout option on Blaise Matuidi because, let's be honest, of the 3, it's probably been the least productive of the 3. There's a lot of noise happening here, but of the 3, he's probably been the least productive. Rodolfo Pizarro hasn't been great either, but at least you've seen
potential
spikes in performance.
Yes,
spikes in performances at different times, like this past week. Yesterday, where I think he was probably the second best player after Gonazalo Iguain. So
is he going to Chivas?
Yeah, can we sell him?
So Rodolfo Pizarro is a sellable asset. He's 27 years old. He's a Mexican international. He's a sellable asset, whereas Gonzalo Iguain and Blaise Matuidi, not really sellable assets. One's 33, one's 34. They're at the end of their careers. Nobody's going to come in and pay a transfer fee for them, right? And that's where soccer, football is a little bit different than the other sports in the United States, and that's where fans can get confused that aren't maybe, just all soccer fans are going to grow up just being pure soccer fans. Because in any other league, NBA, NFL, MLB, you trade a player and that's it. He has to go. There's nothing else to be said about that. But in soccer and football, with transfers, not trades, because there are trades in MLS, but with transfers, it has to come to a financial agreement between the clubs. The player has to come to a financial agreement with the team. The team is essentially, buying him out of his current contract to sign into a new contract. So Rodolfo Pizarro can go to Chivas in theory, but does he want to go to Chivas? Is it the money he wants, etc., etc.? These are all things that have to be addressed between the player and that team and his agent. I imagine Rodolfo Pizarro will want to go.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's the rumor, is that he wants to be sold to a team in Mexico. I mean, you're around the team. Do you get a sense that there's some truth to that?
It's hard right now. It's really hard right now because our interactions with the team are very limited. And I know I've spoken to you guys for probably the better part of a decade, if not a decade now. And when we used to speak on Blog Talk Radio, it was a bit different. It was a bit different because in those days you were seeing the team up close and personal every day, talking to people and players every day. Right now, because of the after effects of COVID, we go to training once a week, and everything is done when we speak to people in a press conference setting, or practically everything. It's not the same right now, so it's hard to really gauge the overall sentiment. We can come up with our ideas or our thoughts, but it's a little bit more difficult to have an accurate read on things. But I would say, look, Rodolfo Pizarro is a Mexican international. He's 27 years old. He's not playing on a consistent basis at Inter Miami right now. The last 2 games, or before this game, he wasn't even starting. Next year's a World Cup year. Next year's a make or break year if he wants to go play in Qatar. And Mexico's probably making the World Cup. I think it's not out of the realm of possibilities, or I don't think it's a stretch to say that. So I think he's going to want to go. I think he wants to go. I think clearly things aren't clicking here, like I said before, with Gonzalo Iguain. They're just not gelling. I think he wants to be at a team where he feels important. That's something that was said earlier this season in press conferences, that Rodolfo Pizarro, when he didn't feel important in a certain part of the year. These were comments he made, remarks he made. If he doesn't feel important, then maybe his confidence sinks. And look, this is my thoughts. I've written this. I've said this. So this is not, anybody that's followed my work will not think this is a surprise. But look, when Rodolfo Pizarro started with Inter Miami in 2020, he was the first DP signed. He didn't have a terrible showing. I'm not going to say he was the best DP in the league, but, he made things happen. He scored some goals. He generated some attacking play. But once Gonzalo Iguain came on board in the second half of 2020, since then there's been a dip in Rodolfo Pizarro's performance levels. And I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think there is something to that. I think when Gonzalo Iguain came on, he is now, and you know this word, el referente. He is now the go-to guy. And Gonzalo Iguain, not only on the field, but in the locker room. He's a big personality, a big persona. carries a lot of weight because of his resume, because of his experience, because of what he's done, because of who he is. And that maybe, and again, this is where the human element comes into it, where Rodolfo Pizarro maybe has, as a player, maybe diminished a little bit because now things don't flow through him. He was the number 10 last year at the start of last year, and almost everything went through him. When Gonzalo Iguain comes on board, now things go through Gonzalo Iguain. And Phil Neville said yesterday, when Gonzalo Iguain plays well, Inter Miami plays well. So now it's more about Gonzalo Iguain. And I think that has an impact on Rodolfo Pizarro. I don't know if it's subconscious. I don't know if it's just a tactical standpoint. But I think there's something to that. I think, if he's not the guy that's orchestrating things, then he and you can look at it statistically too. I've seen it over the course of the season. I rewatch the games. I look at the stats. He's had less touches over the course of this season when he's been moved out to the wing, when he's been moved out of the number 10 spot. Even when he's been at the number 10 spot, there's been times when Gonzalo Iguain has dropped back, and that's forced Rodolfo to move into different areas. So it all comes into play. But to answer your question, that's a long-winded response to say that, yes, I think Rodolfo Pizarro wants to go, and I think they're going to do everything possible to let him go this offseason, even if they have to sell him for a loss, because you need to get more out of your DPs.
Franco, you're saying, so your impression is all three of them are going to go? You want all three to go?
I would say Inter Miami wants all three to go. They might not say this publicly. I think they want all three to go. As a media member that sees the team from the outside, I think the best thing is to have all three of them to go and start fresh and start clean. To all three go, I won't go as far as saying that. Again, I have questions as to whether Gonzalo Iguain retires when he's got $5 million on the table next season. I have real questions about that. Now, maybe he does. Maybe he's had enough. Maybe he just wants to be with his family. You saw yesterday after he scored the goal, he went over to his daughter and his wife. I believe it's his wife. And maybe he's had enough. Maybe he wants to be with his family and call it time on his career. And that's perfectly fine. But I have questions as to whether that's his motivation. I don't know. We haven't been able to ask him. I thought yesterday we might have the chance in the press conference after he had such a great game, but we didn't get the opportunity. So it's still speculation. I imagine at some point we'll get to speak to him before this year ends, and maybe we'll get a little more clarity as to what he wants to do with his future.
All right, one world, one
Peter,
goal.
what are you saying?
Well, here, one world, one goal is saying something here in the chat that I kind of have talked about throughout the year, is that I think Gonzalo eventually ends up as the number 10. We see how he moves the ball around and things like that. He got all those assists, and one world, one goal is basically saying, let's put Fede as a part-time number 9, say next year, and move Gonzalo to number 10. Now, it's expensive number 10, but no, you don't think so?
Doesn't work.
He loves, but forget about the Fede part. But Gonzalo loves to drop back so much. He loves to be in the midfield. He is really good at those pinpoint passes. His at the latter stages, it might be better to have him in the middle pulling the strings a little bit.
A la Valderrama back in the day.
He can walk the field just like Valderrama did.
So this is why I love football. This is why I love soccer. This is why I love the beautiful game, because everyone can see it a little bit differently. Everyone has different viewpoints, and that makes for so much dialogue, so much discussion, debates if you want. Look, if you put Gonzalo Iguain as the 10, right? Whether it's Federico or whoever, that now means that not only your number 10, but now your 10 and your number 9 are both players that aren't going to defend that much. That leaves you with 8 field players to do the bulk of the defending. And in modern day football and modern day soccer, I don't think that works. I don't think that flies. I just don't think that's enough to really get you to be a successful team. Because in modern day soccer, this is why if you talk to anyone in South America or people that have been involved in soccer in South America, they're like, well, the traditional number 10 is going extinct. That's why you see now the 4-3-3. The 4-2-3-1 is still there, but it's kind of a dying breed because you need players that defend. You need players that can put in the work behind the ball. That you don't have the luxury in the modern day, by and large, to just have a number 10 that sits up there, doesn't press, and doesn't really recover the ball. Doesn't have much ball retention. I think it's difficult.
I've seen Gonzalo defend once or twice.
So don't say he doesn't.
Come on.
He's ragging
on him. He's done it like twice.
Listen. I'll do it in an NBA comparison, right? Like you have your 1s, your 2s, your 3s, your 4s, your 5s to describe different positions, and you say a number 5 center is a good rebounder and a great shot blocker, but maybe he's not the best scorer. But that number 5 over the course of season and over the course of games, he's going to score goals. Score points. Score points. That center will score points. Now that doesn't mean that center is a point scorer. Just over the course of season, you're going to see bits and moments of him do the other job. But it's about, consistently does he do that job? And I don't think Gonzalo Iguain is a good enough defender. I think that's why there's been different moments where you've seen Rodolfo Pizarro when he was playing behind him, pressing higher. Even in this last game, Federico Iguain was pressing higher, which is why, you might say, well, maybe they should put Fede as the 9. No, Fede was doing the job as the number 9 from a defensive posture because Fede has more energy to press, where Gonzalo just doesn't have that energy. But from an attacking posture, Gonzalo's best position is the number 10. I don't think, even though he showed some good things in this game with distributing the ball and the perfectly weighted passes he played, he can do that. His best position is as a number 9, and that's where you need to have him. Defensively, it obviously impacts things. So
I don't know if it's his. I mean,
that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I said at the beginning of the year that if he doesn't score 15 goals, he's a failure. And and 15, I think I was being conservative.
That's being conservative. Look, I'll say this, and I don't think he'll have a problem with me saying this. The Big O, at the home opener at halftime, we interviewed Don Garber, and we were talking about Gonzalo Iguain and how he needs to have a good season. And the Big O said he needs to have 15 goals this year. I was like, 15 goals? I'm like, that's nothing. In
right.
MLS, for the DP that he is, with the money he's getting, you need to score at least 20. At least 20 goals. And he was like, what? No, that's ridiculous. I was like, no. I'm like, dude, I've covered this league for a long time. I've seen different goal scorers score 20-plus goals in a year. I've seen players that are not DP score 20 goals in a year. And it's perfectly normal. If you're a DP like Gonzalo Iguain is, you have to average at least a goal every 2 games. At least. Because that's what you're getting paid $5+ million for. You're not getting paid to be a standard average productive striker. You're getting paid to be one of the elite strikers. Now, look, his numbers are decent for the state of the team. Inter Miami's not a great team. Could he have done better? Could he have finished different chances? Even on Wednesday, he probably had some finishes or some plays where he should have done better with his finishing. His numbers should be higher, but he's still playing on a very poor team. So, I said Wednesday. Sorry, it's Saturday. All the days are blending in.
Yeah, they are.
They're blending in with all these games, and now there's another quick turnaround. So I've also had a few beers here. So I know you guys drink on the show. So here I am having a beer as well.
That's
so no, but yeah.
And I want to clear something up because you were made some comment a little while ago that these are you were being very careful with your words. On this show, we say stupid stuff all the time. That's what we. That's
yeah. But you guys don't have to face the music. I got to face the music if I say something stupid and I go.
And you have.
I got to practice on Monday.
You have.
Hey, listen. Listen. Again, I am honest. I'm Frank. In Spanish, I'm Franco, which maybe is why my name is my name. But I say what I think and what I feel.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Obviously, I'm being careful with certain things. I just want to make sure that what I express is what I actually feel. Sometimes if you say things you don't really think about them too much, you might say something you don't mean, and like, dang, I didn't really mean that, and then especially in my position.
We'll say the dumb stuff, so we'll keep up with the dumb stuff here. That's kind of our shtick. Baldwin 4 wants to know, Franco, has any other transfer predictions for postseason? Have any? That's whatever. LGP, Figal, Morgan, etc. They did talk about ditching, some players and like LGB and Figal, they're expensive there on the defense.
Expensive. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
The rules better than we do, and Peter and I were talking off camera.
I'm pretty good with the rules, but
Well, about the fine that they got. How many players are they gonna have to get rid of, and what is the actual amount of the fine? You got to know this.
Yeah, so if the reason he's asking this is because the way people correct me on our show all the time. So some people think it's $1 million per year. I said no, it's $1 million. It's basically $2 million for 2 years. So you tell us, what is it?
Yeah, it's $1 million per year.
It's $1 million per year? No,
from my understanding.
So the way I read it, they have. Next year they have to reduce the payroll by $2 million, so they're being penalized $2 million over for a 2-year period of time.
I don't think that's accurate. I think it's $1 million per season over the next 2 years. But that's my understanding.
But you're not even sure. That's the problem.
Right.
Nobody really knows.
I said it like 20 minutes ago. The MLS rules.
They're wacky.
The salary budget is very complex and very complicated. My understanding from conversations that I've had with people is that it's $2 million overall, $1 million per season. Now, I think the question is a very good question. From what I've heard over the course of this season, I think if you're a fan of Leandro Gonzalez Pires, LGP, or if you're a fan of Nicolas Figal,
I like them both.
Be ready to see them in their last games if they play, because they're both very expensive players.
Right,
if you look at the MLS salary release that just came out last week, I believe it was, LGP makes $1 million. $1 million. So you can fully expect him to be moved on because of the sanctions that they have. I don't think he's a bad player. I actually think he's been very quietly, despite his yellow cards, despite the criticism that a lot of people have for him about his fouls and his temperament. I think he's been one of the best players for Inter Miami since his arrival. I thought he was the second best player in 2020 after Lewis Morgan, and I think it was really close. I know a lot of people see the goals and the assists and the attacking play and get excited by that. But I think Leandro Gonzalez Pires was very good and very consistent in 2020. And this year he's also been, for the most part, very good, obviously having some bad performances and bad games. So I think he's a good player, but I think especially he's 29. There'll probably be value for him in MLS somewhere. Somebody will take him on a trade. Maybe you don't get as much for him as you could if you weren't in the situation, because other teams know you have to get rid of players, so they're not going to be as willing to give up money or draft picks or players, whatever it is. So you might have to get rid of him for less than you normally would, but I think Leandro Gonzalez Pires is probably on the way out. And I think Nicolas Figal, I think he's also probably gone. Because Phil Neville rates him. I can tell Phil Neville rates him just based on press conferences, but one of the most recent press conferences, he was asked about Figal and his absence as of late. And I think towards the end, and don't quote me exactly, I mean, I know we're live here, but I'm not saying this was the exact quote, but
right.
Essentially what he said was, it's great to have him for as long as we can have him. So that to me is like, well, he knows, and he just tipped his hand a little bit. And, Phil Neville is a very honest and candid person in press conferences, maybe a bit too much for the team's sake, but I think that shines a light into their talks behind the scenes as to what Nicolas Figal's future is. And I think Nicolas Figal, one way or the other, probably won't be back in 2022.
Yeah, and when we talk about that penalty, I mean, I look at it like it's not all that bad. I mean, we made a big deal about, they're losing $1 million or $2 million, whatever it is. But I've got a list of, from, The Athletic. They did a nice article on breaking down some of the numbers. And, we're at $17.5 million as of September. We're the fourth highest spending team as of September, according to The Athletic. So I guess there's some acquisitions at some point throughout the year that bumped up, like LA, Atlanta, and Toronto are above us. But my point is that if we get docked $1 million, that still puts us in the fifth slot, potential spending. We still could be a high spending team, and if you really look at the high spending teams, none of them are doing that well. None of them are doing as you expect, So I don't think the penalty is as bad as we all kind of, at least here, we all get worked up like, we're going to have to start going so cheap. We can't afford any DPs. We got to get rid of all the expensive players. It's only $1 million.
So it's only $1 million, but it's $1 million within MLS's salary budget system.
Okay.
And that does not affect the DP. So Inter Miami can have $17 million. Right. I think that's the number you just said. How much of that is Gonzalo Iguain's $5 million? How much is that Rodolfo Pizarro's $3 million? How much of that is Blaise Matuidi's $1.5 million? It's a good chunk of change if you add it all up just based on numbers and face value. Which, by the way, from my understanding, the numbers that come out aren't exactly 100% accurate based on what we see in terms of the salary. Right, so that's the best we can go off.
Yeah.
Now, that's fine. You could take off those 3 DPs and the numbers could look a lot lower, but you still, that allocation money is where it's going to be key for Inter Miami, where they're really going to be hurting the next years. You can get rid of the 3 DPs. Let's say best case scenario. They get rid of all 3 DPs, and they sign 3 new DPs that are younger and more effective and that play well. but you're still going to be missing that next level of players. The LGPs, the Figals, Lewis Morgan. I don't think he's going anywhere, but he falls into that next category of players that isn't a DP, that isn't expected to maybe carry a team, but that is supposed to be effective on a consistent basis. And that's where Inter Miami is going to be hurting, and where they're going to have to figure out. And Chris Henderson said this in this recent interview that we did with him. They're going to have to make smart moves. They're going to have to make sure that the signings that they do make, DP or otherwise, that they are good signings, that they come in and make a difference. Because if they miss on those signings, it's going to be a very long 2 seasons. Because look, you can even say like, okay, the starting 11 could be good, but it's a course of 34 games. It's a season. And over that course of the season, you're going to have to turn to your bench. You're going to have to turn to different players. They're not going to be the same starting 11 every single time. And that's where that makes a difference. So we've seen it this year. We've seen it this year with Julian Carranza. Also, I think he's out of here. I think he's gone.
Well, that's actually Baldwin Forrest is saying Carranza has got to be gone. But a more important question came in here. Chris Arjun asks, ask Bruno. He's asking your brother, but I thought it was fun. If you actually take time to breathe when talking. A lot's coming out.
I'm a stuffy guy, bro. I'm a stuffy guy. I have to get it all out at once.
Lots coming out. They're basically telling you, take a breath. Take a breath.
I'm not exactly in the most comfortable environment here.
Nah, you're doing great. I'm just our chat can be fun, so I want to share some of that.
It's all good. It's all good.
So what my kind of where I was going with that is, I know that the DPs are what they take 450,000 I think of the payroll, something like that I think. So they have to be smart on what it is, but it's not that big of a hit. I mean, I just don't feel like it is. But, especially when you look at some of the lower payroll teams and how they're doing pretty good or they're competitive. This actually could be kind of a blessing in disguise that they have to be smarter and putting together a smart team and not just throw money around willy-nilly.
No, let's talk about the Brazilian guys, Franco. You know anything about them? We know Gregory worked out fine. It seems like Chris Henderson's got the Brazilian connection. Do you know anything about these Brazilian guys?
So what I can tell you is that just my personal point of view is where there's smoke, there's fire. And if there's 2 Brazilian players being linked, and there was a Brazilian player before being linked not too long ago, that I think plays in Denmark, I think there's probably some truth to it there. Now, what can I tell you about these players? Look, I don't think this is breaking news, or this is not fresh news, but I said this on my Total Football this week. I had a sit down with Gregory on Friday, and I spoke to him about a number of topics, one-on-one. And one of the things I talked to him about was these 2 players. And he knows Iguain Mota. They played together at Santos, and this is how he described it. Because obviously he said, I don't know any contractual details. I don't know if they're talking. I don't know any of the but he knows who Iguain Mota is as a player. And what he said was, he's a number 8, technical number 8, that can also play as a left back. And when he said that, and I didn't say this to him, but in my head I was like, a number 8 that can also play as a left back? Right, I was like, well, that makes sense, because if they want to get rid of Blaise Matuidi, then he's the perfect candidate, assuming these are true, rumors are true, that can play that number 8. And if he gives you cover at left back, which has been a position that I don't say Inter Miami has had trouble with, but they definitely could provide more, or they could use having more cover there. Absolutely. So I definitely think there's some truth to it with regards to the 2 Brazilian players. Gregory knew about Iguain Mota. He didn't know enough about Raphael Veiga, so he gave me general answer with regards to him. But I imagine there's some truth to it. But that's just me from the outside reading into things.
All right, we've got some. I don't know if you want to stick around for this, Franco, because I know you're in a busy area. But we've got 4. We got 4 voicemails we've got to get to. We always ask our listeners to send us some voicemails, and we've got 4. One of them came in at 7:50 this morning, so didn't want to wait. So let's, if you've got time, let's go through some voicemails here, and I'm going to bring this up because it's always a potential that it doesn't play through. All right, here we go.
Hola, hola, hola. Good evening, everybody. This is America's favorite uncle, Uncle Ned.
Hello, Uncle.
Fam. Happy
Where's the damn?
And just overjoyed. Damn, a damn.
There it is.
I don't want to just jump over the edge, say any go overboard. And this will be a quick call, everybody.
Yeah, right.
Not a two-parter. But anyway, my thoughts. I just want to say what's up to my guys downtown Peter Brown and my man Uncle Ed before I begin. But anyway, getting that out the way. This was a great game, and we finally see the potential of this team. We were dominant from beginning to end, and damn, it feels good to finally see Inter Miami being dominant and playing at their potential, the way we've always wanted them to play at. Now, of course, this is FC Cincinnati. We basically own them, okay? David Beckham is the owner of FC Cincinnati, okay? And that's okay, because you know why? Because the better teams put away the bad teams early, okay? They don't play around with their food. They put it away early, you know what I'm saying? And that's what we did. And we gave them no hope, no chance of getting back into this game. So it was great to see it. You love to see it. And I got to say this, it's going to be controversial, but from my vantage point, we've got a tough game coming up next week against NYCFC, okay? They're fighting for their lives, and they're fighting to get into the playoffs. They are not going to hold back on us, okay? And then after that, we got to go up to Boston, to Beantown, to play against New England Revolution. If, regardless of what happens with the two games, I got to say, at least we didn't go out like chumps, okay? And the team could have rolled over and died, but they didn't. They fought, okay? And they played their asses off last night, and you love to see it. So I'm a happy camper, and I just hope that they give us a little something next week. Obviously, I hope that they win, but I'm very proud of them, and I'm looking very much forward to the game against NYCFC. So with that, good night, everybody. I love you guys all, and I'll be listening to the show. Shout out to my guys downtown Peter Brown and Uncle Ed. Peace.
So he's excited about the New York City game because he can go to that game. He's up there in New Jersey area, so I think that's why he's excited to see the New York City. But New York, didn't they just beat up on somebody this weekend?
DC United.
Yeah, what was the score? 6-0 or something like that?
6-0.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
tennis game.
That's not going to be an easy game at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, listen, before you can get to thinking about that game, you have to focus on Wednesday's game, Atlanta United. That right now is the MLS Cup final for Inter Miami. They have to win that game. For me, you can't think about what comes on Saturday. You can't think about what comes on the end of the season. You need to focus on this game, give everything you've got, whether that's pushing players that maybe aren't 100%. Because if you don't win on Wednesday, Saturday probably doesn't matter all that much. You have to take it, literally by the cliche, game by game. Give everything you've got. Don't save anything for Wednesday, and try to win that one. Otherwise, it's probably not happening for Inter Miami.
You hear that, a new Weissman? We're coming for you.
Mm-hmm. But there's a chance.
All right, here's another call.
Hey, wait, before you do that, I wanted to make sure I brought this up because I spoke to both of you at the start of the season outside of Dry Pink Stadium before the season opener, before the home opener, week one.
We were probably drunk.
No. And look, I had you guys on Miami Total Football's YouTube page, part of a little package I did with just talking to different fans before the game, and I asked both of you, will Inter Miami make the playoffs in 2021? Do you guys remember what your answers were?
I don't.
I mean, at the beginning of the season, we're probably saying yes, but I tend to be a Debbie Downer at times, so I don't know. I could flip-flop week to week.
Mm-hmm. Uncle Ed answered first. He said yes. Downtown Peter Brown answered second, and he said no. So Peter, right now you have the lead because right now it looks like things are going to go your way with your preseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the way I want it to go, but just like you said, you call it the way you see it, and that's just how I felt at the beginning of the year.
The fat lady hasn't sung yet, so
no, she hasn't. Don't fat shame, Ed. It's 2021. You got to be careful with what you say.
You're right. Sorry about that.
All right, here's another caller.
My bad.
Hey guys, how are you? This is Napoleon Picanha calling you guys again.
Making another steak.
I am celebrating like crazy, doing another barbecue today. The game yesterday at the stadium was amazing. Geez, I don't even want to say I had so much fun last night. Even though there wasn't a packed house, it was a really cool environment. And everyone that was there, cheers to all of you. Franco, I know you're in there. I would love you, Franco. Been watching you, follow you on Twitter. Love the questions that you always ask Phil. You always are asking the hard-hitting questions that make Phil uncomfortable. So I appreciate that. Guys, just very quick. Everyone's talking about the Iguain brothers, what a game they had, how good they played yesterday. But for me, really, I think the unsung hero is Pizarro. I was watching the game and I was super impressed by how he was like managing the game, how he was making passes. His vision and creating the plays was outstanding. I think he really shined above everyone else yesterday for me. And then the other person that I thought had a great game was obviously Morgan. But I would give Pizarro my 100% score for last night. Let me know what you guys think. Cheers.
Yeah, Pizarro is so hot and cold. He definitely was really, really good, really involved in everything in the last game. But he's so hot and cold. You never know what you're going to get with him. And what was with his shoes? I noticed the dumb stuff, the pink shoes. I mean, he also has pink shoes, so he's committed, maybe. But they were loose, or he had to stop and tie them like 50 times in that game. But if that's what it takes for him to play well, tie your shoes.
Yeah, I didn't notice that one.
I noticed all the dumb stuff.
Like I said earlier, I thought he was the second best player after Gonazalo Iguain. I would listen. I respect all opinions, and whether I disagree with them 100% or 50% or 20%. If someone made a case for him being as the best player on the field, I wouldn't have a hard disagreement with that. So I thought he was very good. Might have been his best game of the season, even though he didn't score. So I understand that viewpoint, and I fully can agree with that viewpoint. Although I do think Gonzalo Iguain, just based off his second half performance, was a tad bit better for me. Which goes to the first question. The first question was, there was a comment in there about how Inter Miami didn't play with its food and took care of business and never really let FC Cincinnati into it, which is not true because it was 1-1 at halftime.
Right.
The second half was a difference. There was a tale of two halves yesterday. First half, tight game. Cincinnati created some things that forced Nick Marsman into saves. Second half's where Inter Miami just kind of found the winner or found the go-ahead goal, added an insurance goal, and then after that, Cincinnati kind of just, their season's over, they're eliminated. They just stopped kind of caring. Yeah. Which you can see in the 96th minute, Alan Cruz got a red card. I don't know if everybody in the stadium caught that.
I didn't notice that.
I didn't see that. Yeah.
So even the broadcast, both broadcasts thought the game was over because the red card comes in the 96th minute when it was the last minute of stoppage time.
Right.
He got into like a little bump with Julian Carranza, and Julian Carranza kind of looked at him and jawed at him, and Alan Cruz just like smacked him in the back of the head like that. And it was literally right in front of the referee. The referee stopped play, gave him a red card. Alan Cruz had to walk off the field, and then they played for another 30, 45 seconds before the full-time whistle came. So
I don't know what we were doing, Ed, because I didn't notice that at all.
No, hey, it's fully understandable. No, it's fully understandable. It seemed like the game was over.
Yeah.
It seemed like the game was over. And
we were sitting there, but we might have been John about what we've seen so far.
Hey, the broadcast also thought the game was over. I thought the game was over. I didn't see it live. I thought it was weird how it happened and the game continued for another 30 seconds. I didn't know that there was a red card, but when I saw the game back the second time, then I saw the red card. I actually saw the red card statistically on a stat sheet before I rewatched the game, so I already had my eye out for it.
That Cincinnati goalkeeper, maybe I'm being rough on him, but he sucked. He was bad.
He was not good.
He should have saved a couple of those goals.
Yes,
and everybody forgets how Marsman was really good last night. There were so many shots that he was able to block, but we just saw so many goals. I think everybody forgets that our goalie saved us a lot.
And that's the point to what I said earlier about there's emotion in the game and it's all fresh on the eye. So different things can overshadow different things. But Nick Marsman did have a good game. That first half he was called upon a few times and he delivered more often than not. So I always do my player ratings. He'll get a high player rating for his performance on Saturday.
Yeah, go look for that on Miami Total Football. That's where you should be. Reading all your Inter Miami stuff. Come here when you want to goof off and have fun, but read Franco's stuff. Here's another caller, and I think this might be, I'm not sure, but I'm reading a little bit of the transcript, and I think this might be Iguain's number one fan.
Hello, I'm a caller from Miami, Florida, and I really like the host that you had, the guest host from a few weeks ago. I think his name was Ted. He should have his own show called Ted Talks.
Oh, he's got his own rim shot.
Also, I happened to be at the game yesterday, and I noticed that, it was weird because it turns out you can park for free and no one really does anything. I didn't know that until yesterday. There are places around there to park for free. I'm not suggesting anyone else do it. Who knows? You might get towed someday. Just find it strange that apparently no one seems to care at this point. Anyway, as far as the game goes, great game. Gonzalo Higuain was especially good, especially with his assist. Lewis Morgan looks like he's back. Looked like the old Lewis Morgan yesterday. Good to see Carranza get on the score sheet as well. You know, my question for you guys is, Federico Higuain seems to be a difference maker whenever he plays. He has a positive effect on the team. Why didn't he play more this season? I know that he's no spring chicken. He can't play 90 minutes a game. I know he also had some injuries in practice earlier this season. But it seems like he still could have been on the field a little bit more. Let me know what you guys think. They'll need a miracle to get in the playoffs. Probably won't happen. But anyway, good show, guys. Bye.
That sounded like Ted saying that he was a good host.
Yeah, that was Ted giving himself a compliment. Yes, yes.
He talks in the third person.
Yeah, and you never know where he's going to be from. But according to Baldwin, he might have been drinking a little bit. That's what the thoughts in the. So, what do you think about what he was saying as far as why Federico wasn't playing more? I mean, it can't just because of his age. I mean, his age is a reason to give him breaks, right, or to play him for a half. But his age is not a reason to sit him for a good portion of the season like he did.
So look, I think, and look, hey, I actually appreciate Chris Arjun's comment before, because when you're in it, you know, you can maybe not see things from the outside. So I appreciate it. So I can slow down a little bit here. And I think that's what happens with teams, and I think that's why media exists.
The chat can be brutal. The chat can be brutal.
No, hey, it's honest. It's honest. It's real. Like, it's something that maybe I don't see doing. You know, talking to you guys, but it's an honest criticism, and you know, something that helps me see something that maybe I'm not seeing. And I think that happens with the team and with us on the media side as well. We point out certain things that maybe coaches that are, you know, so focused in and honed in on the inside that maybe they don't see, because they don't take that step back to see everything because they're just so dialed in. But anyway, as to Federico Iguain, look, I think one of the reasons was, besides his age and besides things that we've talked about earlier in the show, is that Inter Miami, over the course of the season, developed a lot of defensive deficiencies. And that is what led to Phil Neville changing to that five-man backline. And with that five-man backline, that obviously takes away one attacker, right? Instead of having four defenders, now have five. That means you have to take a player from a more advanced position off the field. And Phil Neville predominantly initially stuck with the 5-2-3, which meant five defenders, two midfielders, and then three players on the front line, two wingers and a striker. So there was no room for a number 10. He needed to have a better balance, but a better balance defensively. So that took the number 10 off the field for Inter Miami. As of late, he's gone. Well, before he went back to the four-man back line, he was playing. He took a forward off the field and he deployed it into the midfield. So it was a 5-3-2. The Atlanta game, if I'm not mistaken, the Portland game, if my memory serves me correct, you saw 5-3-2. Still no true number 10 on that field, but there was another number in the midfield. Now with the 4-2-3-1, you have space to have that extra attacker, to have that number 10, which allows Federico Iguain to come back in there. I think it's as much out of necessity as anything else, because I will be honest that one criticism I've had of Phil Neville as of late is that I think he took too long to make this change. Because during that 6-game losing streak, Inter Miami scored one goal, and they gave up, I'm blanking out if it was 16 or 18, I think it was 16, gave up 16 goals. Along that 6-game losing streak, when things aren't working and there's really no signs that things are going to change, I think Phil Neville should have at some point in that losing streak been like, clearly the five-man backline's not working. Let's try to go to the 4-2-3-1 and see if we do better there. If we don't, then we live with that. So be it. But we tried something else. We're not banging our head against the walls and trying to force square pegs into round holes like we did during that 6-game losing streak. Because Kelvin Leerdam, and I know the last caller said, give him a shout out to Lewis Morgan. I think Kelvin Leerdam deserves a shout out because I thought he was great yesterday. He sets up one of the goals, secondary assist, when he cut back on the defender, found Federico Iguain, and Federico hits Gonzalo Iguain for the game winner. He also had a few good balls after that should have led to goals. One to Gonzalo Iguain that just went wide of the far post. I thought Kelvin Leerdam in his natural position is a completely different player. If you want to say Kelvin Leerdam is not a good player, if you want to say Kelvin Leerdam sucks, fine. But do that when he's playing his natural position. He's been playing center back. He's been giving up goals. He hasn't been great, but he's playing out of position. It's like taking Nick Marsman is something I told a colleague recently, and it's tongue-in-cheek a little bit, or it's tongue-in-cheek a little bit. Take Nick Marsman out of goal and put him on the right wing and expect him to do a good job. He's going to have limitations. Kelvin Leerdam's given up goals at center back, but at right back, I think he's done a much better job. And one of the reasons, again, that I think Phil Neville should have seen the trend of goals coming because of Kelvin Leerdam. The defense not having the personnel available to play that five-man defense. And he should have made the change sooner. That's just my criticism, my opinion. I think maybe Phil Neville, if he was being really honest and maybe had some beers with him and he was feeling free and loose, I think he maybe would be like, you know what, I recognize that maybe I took a little bit too long, because he said it after the last game against the Toronto game. I asked him, I was like, what's the reason that you made this change? He gave a bunch of reasons, but I was like, what's the biggest reason that led you to the 4-2-3-1? And he said, playing players to their strengths. And absolutely, Lewis Morgan looks a much different player now than he did when he was playing right wing back. Kelvin Leerdam, for me, looks a much different player playing right back than he does center back. And I think those are just two examples. Robbie Robinson's probably another one. Forcing him up top as a number 9, I don't think that's his best position. I think his best games this year have come out on the wing. So, I think they took too long to make this move. It cost them some points in some games. We'll see if they can make up for that.
Are you going to get that chance? When are you going to get that chance to have that beer in that conversation with him? Let's make that happen.
I don't know. Yeah, let's see. If you guys can make that happen,
we can.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it'll happen. I don't know. Listen, like you guys know, I'm critical, and I do so from I think from a good place.
Sure.
I have friends. I'm a Floridian. I'm a South Floridian.
Right.
I have friends. I have family that are season ticket holders that want to see the team succeed. I had a conversation with somebody recently, and I won't say who it was, but somebody recently who's involved in the soccer world, and they were like, look, our numbers, and it's a business, our numbers are down because Inter Miami's losing. So it all matters. It does matter if Inter Miami wins consistently,
Sure.
If they have good performances. It matters. It matters for everybody. And Inter Miami is also a team that has been ambitious from the start. David Beckham, Jorge Mas. This is not just another ownership group that just wants to be in MLS, that just wants to have a team. They want to be winners. They want to be very successful. So I hold them to that bar, and I hold them to that standard.
And
I will ask questions that I think is to that standard. Now, people can call me negative, critical, pessimistic, whatever you want, but I will continue to do it that way because until Inter Miami says, hey, we're okay with being just a middle-of-the-table team, okay, then we can adjust our viewpoints and how we address or how we view this team. But if they want to be one of the best teams in the league, then that's the standard that I will hold them to, and I have held them to for the last season. So I can imagine I'm not Phil Neville's favorite person in the whole wide world.
Right.
Well,
All right.
He did tweet something.
Yeah. Last caller. Thank you so much for hanging in with us. We went late tonight, but this has been a great show.
Hey, Peter, Uncle Ed, and Franco. We love Franco, of course. We do love Bruno too. I just want to point that out. But I just want to thank you so much for all those wonderful pressers. This is Italia, one world, one goal. And we knew you would really be something from when you started you were working with our good friend Dave Martinez, who was Empire Soccer and way back to the Metro Stars days, Metro Bowls, and our good friend also, Ives, that has Soccer by Ives, as in Ives, depending on how you understand how to pronounce that. Anyway, all the way back to the Fusion days, it's great that everybody's kept in touch, and you bring such great energy, bringing all the new fans in with your pressers, and Love that. And, oh, P.S., I wanted to dump all 3 DPs, but if we are stuck with Gonzalo, I'm just trying to find, like, a spot for him. And Fede, from what I understand, he wants to go into player coach. And I actually think they both are here just to try to get involved with the academy and have a post-career, because Miami is much more fun for the Argentines to live rather than Europe. Okay, thanks. Love you guys. Love the show. Bye.
All right, just mainly some love for Franco there. Not a bad way to end.
That was very nice.
Not a bad way to end the show.
Very sweet of her. Very sweet of her. And I already knew who it was when I heard the voice. So that's why I did the one. Well, I don't know. I tried to make a one world, one goal symbol here. I don't know if it came off well here, but
no idea.
Might have looked like gang signs. I don't know.
I thought it was some gangster thing. Yeah. So.
No. It was a shout out to One World, One Goal. She's always very nice and very, very pleasant. Look, I will add this because I think it's something to chew on, dissect on. I don't know. Again, it's supposition from the outside, not information. But with Gonzalo Iguain, let's say he wants to stick around, right? Let's say he wants to stay another season. There's things that happen behind the scenes in sports that we'll never hear about. And look, one thing that could happen, right, if Inter Miami wants to force him out, if Inter Miami wants to force him into retirement, could be like, hey, we're not resigning Federico. So if you're going to come back, it's just going to be you. So you make that decision. No, there's different things that teams can do to try to put things in their perspective or in their manner. So, again, I think Gonzalo will want to return. We'll see if he does. We'll see how the team plays itself out and how they game plan for next year. Because like you guys know, there's sanctions. I don't think we even touched on these 2 players that I think are candidates to be out just because of the high numbers they're on. Ryan Shawcross is making 300,000 plus.
We don't even need to talk. He's done. He's
Victor Ulloa, who's been a good team player and someone that's helped maybe piece together that locker room over the last 2 seasons. He's making 200,000 plus from the most recent numbers. So I don't know if he'll be back. I don't know if he gives you enough on the field. And again, you're trying to maximize numbers and maximize signings. I think he could be another player that's out in addition to what we said before. LGP, Figal, Julian Carranza. There might be 2 other players that I'm blanking on because I counted 7 before I came on the show. I'm trying to think who the other 2 were. I don't have the numbers exactly in front of me. But there were 2 other players that I were like, yeah, they're probably candidates to go as well. So there's definitely a good 7 that are making a good chunk of change that probably... Oh, Kelvin Leardam and Jovan Jones. Those were the other 2.
Jones can go. He hasn't played enough. Nothing wrong with him.
He's been hurt.
I know, but do you renew that contract? I mean, he hasn't given enough. Yeah, no, I think he's gone. I mean, nothing against him. He just hasn't played enough, whether it's his fault or not.
No, I agree. Again, but I think that, at the end of the day, this is a business.
Right.
Cutthroat decisions have to be made, and it's not a sentimental business. So look, at the end of the day, Jovan Jones, hey, we know you were injured for much of the year. Maybe you could have shown more than you did, but you didn't, and we're in a tough situation. So hey, thank you for your time. And I think the same might happen with Kelvin Leardam, who's making almost close to 300,000, if I'm not mistaken, and he's been a backup right back. And I think he's better than he's shown. I think he's better than most people give him credit for at that right back position. I think if we would have seen him a whole season at right back, I think some people would have liked him a little bit more, but we didn't. And I think, look, Harvey Neville's a right back. Just saying, Harvey Neville's a right back. He projects from conversations I've had, from what I know. He's a Fort Lauderdale CF player, Phil Neville's son.
He's played a lot too with Fort Lauderdale. He's
played more as a midfielder, but from what I hear is that he projects more as a right back going forward. Kelvin Leardam came out of the last game with an injury, and if they have to go to extreme hardship, don't be surprised if Harvey Neville is called up. And I don't know if he starts, but he could be on the bench.
Right. Definitely. All right, since we've gone this long, let's finish with this one last thing. Talking about Neville and people coming and going. The number one thing people talk about on the old social medias is firing all 3 DPs and firing the coach. So I think Neville's here next year. Ed feels like he should be given another year. A lot of fans say, get the guy out of here. What do you think? Phil Neville's here next year or not?
I think Phil Neville's here next year. If you ask me for my opinion, if I think he should be back, I'd be lying to you if I said I think he should be back. And I've said this on my podcast. I've said this in my articles. I've said this in my coverage. I don't think he's the fit for Inter Miami. Look, I think he's a great speaker. I think he knows a lot about soccer. I think he definitely has a coaching job somewhere. But I don't think, this is just my personal opinion, I don't think it should be at Inter Miami because he's a young head coach. This is his first coaching job at the club level on the men's side. He's going through learning curves and growing pains like a young player would on the field, like a Robbie Robinson maybe is going through learning curves and growing pains. And I think with how ambitious Inter Miami is, I just don't think that Phil Neville is the guy that will take them where they want to be. Just I haven't seen it tactically. I haven't seen it from you look at tactical and technical developments. That's, essentially a coach's job over the course of the season. I haven't seen enough. Who could you say, and maybe you guys answer this now, maybe you answer this, over the course of the week, next week, whenever. Who would you say has been better since the last season for Inter Miami? Who has performed better? Because a lot of players have regressed, not progressed. So who would you say has progressed? I would say maybe Christian McCoon is my answer. Christian McCoon and maybe Robbie Robinson. But besides that, everyone else is kind
Breck
of
Shea?
Breck Shea scored goals last year. Breck Shea was scoring winners last year. So I think he's been the same. So again, this is just my opinion, and it's nothing personal with Phil Neville. I know we had a run-in earlier this year on social media, and it's nothing personal. Again, I think he's a great speaker. I think he would be a great person to have a beer with, and I think he does have the knowledge to have a job in soccer somewhere. I just don't think with Inter Miami, with how ambitious the team is and wants to be, I don't think he's the guy for the job. I think he changes the formation a tad bit too much, which doesn't lead to familiarity for certain players. I think he's still learning on when to make certain moves. Again, I think, I said it earlier with the 6-game losing streak, probably should have changed out of it sooner because the results just weren't going their way. There was no trends really saying this is headed in a good direction, yet he continue to play players out of position like Kelvin Leerdam, and the results just kept being the same. So I think he's learning, and there's nothing wrong with that. But on a team as ambitious as Inter Miami, can you afford to have a coach that's going to make mistakes? That's a question that I don't think. I think the answer is no, but obviously everybody's entitled to have their answer and respond that in their way.
All right, Franco, thanks so much for spending the night with us. We went way long, but that's just because you're such a great guest. Tell everybody how they can follow everything you're doing.
So at Franco Panizo on Twitter, of course. We also have Miami Total Football, the podcast, which is at Miami Total Football on Twitter. It's on Apple Podcasts, which is what iTunes used to be. It's just Miami Total Football Radio. I actually named that bilingually, right? So in English, it's Miami Total Football Radio. In Spanish, it'd be Miami Total Football Radio. So I did that bilingually. And obviously, a lot of my written stuff, if you want to see more in-depth conversations or coverage of the team, it's at miamitotalfootball.substack.com. And there you can see everything from, game analysis to breaking news. I've broken a lot of news there over the course of the season for anyone that's followed my work this year. I've also talked about some of the USL players that are probably going to be coming up next season or that are in contention to come up. So, there's a YouTube channel as well for Miami Total Football. So there's a little bit of everything. And that's something I learned when I returned to South Florida from my days in New York and New Jersey, where I was mostly just writing, making guest appearances on shows like with you guys. But I was like, I need to come back and be more of a trifecta. I need to be able to be more diverse because I don't know about your friends. You guys are a little bit older than me. I don't think that's a secret.
A lot.
Peter's a lot older than me.
Look at all this gray. Look at all that.
A lot of my friends now, when we talk about Peru's national team, or we talk about teams that we follow just from a fan's perspective, it's all via Instagram now. They all send me via Instagram, via social. It's no longer articles. I don't get tweets. It's just, so it's, there's different fans that consume things in different ways, video, audio, written. So I've tried to give that type of coverage. I'm an obsessive type of person with teams I follow. So I try to give that coverage to Inter Miami fans that might be the same way. And if you're not the same way, then you're more of a written person, then you can read. If you're more of an audio person, you can listen. If you're more of a visual person, you can watch on YouTube. So I've tried to give a little bit of everything. I am a diehard football fan. I'll say that. I'm a diehard football fan, passionate about the sport. And I would love to see Inter Miami get to the level where I think it can get and where they dream of getting. Because that, what's Uncle Ed doing here?
I don't know.
I've
watched you guys,
taken
I
a
watch your
picture.
guys show. Yeah, I watch your guys show a lot, and I've never seen you do that. So
Me neither.
Yeah, I was like, let me take a picture of my setup real quick, just so you guys. Okay. I'll put it up later.
Of your setup.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you were taking a picture of the screen here, and I'm like, you could just watch it later.
It includes everything, so you guys are gonna come out. I'm gonna tweet it later on.
I was like, was David Beckham walking behind me? Did I miss this?
So that's a thing we're doing now, Ed?
Well, I'm doing it.
We take a picture of our setups? I got an impressive setup, Ed.
He's going to take a picture now, too. I would take a picture, but I'm holding my phone.
It came out good. I'll send it to you guys.
All right, good job.
I think, hey, listen, thank you guys, because you guys have obviously done a great job to grow the sport in South Florida, to keep people engaged and entertained over the last 10-plus years. I remember when we talked about having a Miami team. I remember this very clearly, and I was in New Jersey, living in a basement, I think, in my first year in New Jersey when I left FAU and left South Florida, and I was a young chicken and out of the nest, and I was, I was definitely not in the best situation, but it's part of growing up. I remember being on the podcast with you guys, it was the podcast at this time, and we talked about a Miami team, and I was like, well, imagine if it was a Miami team and a Fort Lauderdale team, and then there was some sort of rivalry between the two, and I remember that conversation vividly. So, look, you guys have done a great job to continue to grow interest in the sport in this area, and I appreciate what you guys do. I like that you guys create the dialogue and are not afraid to maybe push some buttons and say some things that maybe need to be said, or the honest conversations that need to be had.
Yeah.
If you guys weren't so invested in the team, I would say, hey, just join us on the media side, guys. But I know you guys enjoy going to the games and screaming goal and screaming.
I've debated with that a couple of times, because I did media on like the lower level stuff, but I'm at this age now where I just want to sit back, enjoy, have a few beers,
watch
it's more
the
fun.
game.
Yeah, exactly. It is more fun. It is,
and then
fun.
just goof off on on the internet
on here. Just goof off on here and not worry if they're mad at what I said.
No, hey, absolutely. I have friends that go out on the weekends and they're like, hey, come out. And I'm like, nope, can't do it. Got to go to the game. Got to work. Got to go cover. Got to write. Got to do my whole thing. So,
well, I don't miss games.
I appreciate it.
Right.
No, I never miss games. But
yeah. Having we got to do a 1 second of business here before we say goodbye. I am missing a game. I have to miss the next game, unfortunately, because it is my daughter's birthday party. I have to be a part of it. She's 17 years old. I can't miss that. So, guys that are watching this in the chat, do what Ed's been asking. Hashtag tickets, make a good comment, something fun, something interesting, and I will award somebody 3 tickets. I have 3 tickets that I'm going to give away, and we'll do that. So hashtag tickets in the comments, not right now in this live, in the later one, so it's just easier to track you down. So the post that's later, go and post a comment in there, and Esteban Dido says he'll take. He says he'll take it. Case closed. Well, go post a comment in the video after we're done.
Comments.
In the so, all right. So thanks, Franco, so much for joining us. It was fun. And
we'll do this again.
We will do it again. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys were awesome. Had a lot of fun with you guys as well. And always thanks to Caneswear. If you're not going to Caneswear, what the hell are you waiting for? Go there and buy all your Inter Miami gear. So we will do this next week and talk to you guys later. Thanks, Franco.